This is what have been discussed because, as you mentioned, very specifically, very precisely, the hospitals, schools, the civilians, the children, the women are now the target of each conflict.
On November 21, 2024, the International Criminal Court issued arrest warrants that sent shockwaves through the global community. Benjamin Netanyahu, Yoav Gallant, and Mohammed Deif are now wanted for alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity. But what does this mean for the world stage? Could these warrants redefine international justice, or are they symbolic actions in a deeply divided political climate? Today, we're unpacking the far-reaching effects of these warrants on politics, global accountability, and the communities at the heart of the conflict. Today, I am joined by Mahsa Hossein. Your name,
Good evening. I'm Mahsa Hossein, and I am recently graduated from Al-Mutawa University in the course of law, and have been into international criminal law since I was a speaker and a researcher in international criminal court, moot court competition. And recently, I had the ability to be an intern inside one of the international criminal law centers. It's an NGO, which is also a consultative status in the United Nations. And as I always mentioned before my friends, before my colleagues, and before um, among all my families, international criminal law is my field, and international criminal court is my home. So that's the reason why I'm here.
And that's why I invited you to discuss this very timely or relevant topic. Because as you know, the ICC, with its pursuit of accountability, it transcends national borders. So it has a mandate to address crimes and address conflicts. For example, if the local jurisdiction in that country fails to act, the complementary principle applies. So that's why the ICC has to come in. And it has been shown through the issuance of these warrants of arrest against the persons that I mentioned. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister, Yoav Gallant, who has been sacked recently. He's no longer the defense minister, but he had a part in the genocide in Gaza. Why do you think this topic should concern the whole world?
Unfortunately, war has been one of the greatest concerns that in the recent decade has been a really great concern for the whole international community. We can see that it's widespread like a virus. We can see it everywhere in the world. And where we are facing with war, crimes against humanity, war crimes, or even more horrific crimes such as genocide is inevitable. And since justice is the target that each legal person shall pursue and try to achieve, this is where we begin to bring the responsible leaders and masterminds to the fair trial. And as the preamble of the Rome Statute mentioned, to try to put an end to impunity of the perpetrators. And I guess that why this discussion is essential, not only amongst the legal experts, not just among the individuals, but all the persons, all the individuals around every places in all around the world shall discuss this among themselves, among their groups. So one day we will be able to, by action, bring these responsibles to the court.
That is correct. Let's just go back down to history. What led to the resistance, and why are we here right now at the stage of the conflict?
The whole war and conflict between Israel and Palestine, it's something that I may not be able to discuss here right now. But if I want to talk about the recent conflict that was happening between the states, it refers to the Hamas attack to the northern Israel in 2023. And since then, we are just facing with one of the greatest atrocities and casualties since many years ago. May I refer you to one of the articles that have actually been published by UN Press that do regard to this conflict, 80% of Gaza civilian has been displaced. And these amounts actually been reached to 2 million people. It's something horrific that 2 million individuals lost their homes. And by today, about 44,000 of the civilians have been murdered and butchered. And 70% of this population are included women and children. And this is something that must be solved by the international experts, by the United Nations, the International Criminal Court. All of them shall be just cooperation and shall join each other so this conflict can be over as soon as possible. Okay, the Hamas first attacked the northern Israel is not something that we should not forget. But now we're not looking for who attacked first. We have to find a way to stop this as soon as possible. And I guess that's why the International Criminal Court has been involved, because it's about its preamble that the commission of these crimes weren't left unpunished. And it's something that is quite sad. It's quite unbelievable that inside this world, just a few kilometers away, some children are getting killed in the most horrific and disastrous way.
Now, let's take a look at what were the charges against these persons. So for Netanyahu, Benjamin Netanyahu, his role as a prime minister, yes, his role as a prime minister is relevant or is instrumental to crimes against humanity and war crimes as indicated in the Rome Statute. Yeah. The military operations in Gaza
crimes against humanity
targeted civilians and civilian infrastructure. So that falls on war crimes.
First of all, something to be noticed here that I know it seems too further, it seems too much, but I guess that genocide itself can be a part of the crimes illicit for these crimes committed inside the Gaza, because foreseeably transfer of the children, unfortunately, I've been just noted a press inside the Guardian which has been told that after the Gaza population in the northern Gaza has been displaced due to conflicts, they are now not allowed to get back to their territories, and it's exactly an instance of foreseeably transfer. And we can see that a lot, an uncountable population of Palestinians are now just getting killed. And I guess that the genocide can be included inside the war, inside the crimes enlisted against Netanyahu and Gallant. So I don't know why the court did not just decide on that, because I know genocide is something hard to be established and something hard to be proved, but it at least was something that shall be under discussion.
Well, whatever the decision of the prosecutor, why did not include that? But I guess it's obvious here that there is an intent to destroy, because see, that is, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but the key of the gravamen of the offense of genocide is that there must be an intent to destroy in whole or in part of a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. So I think the intent has been obvious for years. We can talk about this all night with respect to the occupation. And before October 7th, before the major war has happened, there are already pieces of evidence of intent of exterminating the population of Palestinians in Gaza and in the West Bank.
And this is why I have been discussed, because as you mentioned, very specifically, very precisely, the hospitals, the schools, the civilians, the children, the women are now the target of each conflict. And thousands of these victims are children, are women. And I found no other reasons than try and intent to just exterminate a whole population exactly in the Palestine. It's something, just as you said, let's respect the prosecutor of ICC's decision. So yeah, it's not something to be talked about further.
I think it's a procedural issue for now, but well, at least we have charges for war crimes and crimes against humanity. So I think under Article 7, am I correct? 7(1)(h), if I'm not mistaken. War crimes and crimes against humanity. And I want to talk about this because this is really interesting. The next one, the use of starvation as a method of warfare. I've been seeing this a lot in social media.
Unfortunately, as we are all aware that about 4 days after an area in Gaza had been targeted and all the people were facing with the greatest bombing ever, the Red Cross, the Committee of Red, to get involved and was about to give the civilians the aid that they are needed. And the Israel has been just preventing that. And that was something unbelievable because even during the war that we have before, the International Committee of Red Cross have been always involved, and no state have been ever prevented these actions.
Yeah, what's interesting is that I cannot imagine this. The UNRWA, the United Nations Relief, some of them were also targeted. Well, I am not sure whether it was deliberate or indiscriminate targeting, but and to think that this is already the United Nations giving relief to the people and still do not survive the cruelty of the Israeli Defense Forces really baffles me.
It's something understandable that before these decades, in World War One and Two, we have so many greatest atrocities and casualties and unhuman actions. But that was the exact reason was the United Nations has been established. The International Criminal Court has been established. The Geneva Convention has been established. And even after establishing all these mechanism systems, if we still have these actions in our wars, this means that the states are not following the USC against, and this is something that the whole international community shall be against, but they are not, unfortunately.